Dr. Kia Preet, shining wisdom's light, teaching soul tribe how to see through the night. Ancient scriptures and bloodlines she knows, spreading truth wherever she goes. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Through her channel, knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine, she's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia lights the way to a new and brighter day.
Shalom, family. Islam, peace, welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, greetings. Good morning, good evening, good night, grand rising, depending upon where you're hailing from. It is so good and such an honor to see so many of you all here. Keep checking in because we have so much to talk about, family. Let us know who you are and where you're hailing from. Bring your notepads, bring your pens, your pencils, and your questions. Well, today I brought an esteemed, astute scholar, a historian, a minister, a grand sheik, the husband of one woman, a father, and someone to whom we all look up. That is none other than Aseer, the Duke of Tears. Before I bring him up, I want to tell you a little bit about this man because I want you to know that I only bring honorable people to the Soul Tribe that will help us prepare for what is to come. Okay, so get you a drink of water because I'm going to give you a little bit about his biography. Go ahead and get your notepad. Go ahead and get your pens. Go ahead and, debrief. Get a little, a little breather in case you got a little upset because I said we need to get it together. Okay, just take a deep breath, exhale. Okay, we're going to bring a gentleman here by the name of Aseer, the Duke of Tears. He is a multimedia artist, a natural historian, published author, writer with a PhD in jurisprudence, an astrologer as well. Born Prince Charles E. L. Rogers, Aseer started doing artwork at the age of 4. He began taking art classes at the Brooklyn Museum at the age of 7. Around the age of 10, he began print modeling, and that same year drew his first full comic book. This is an astute author. He attended art and design high school where he studied many techniques, but he didn't graduate. Instead, he got a GED and went into business for himself. We'll segue into entrepreneurship a little later. He started with Morally Correct Mediums, a subsidiary of his father's publicity company that was called Rogers Artist Media. He worked on logos and bios for many, many groups like Eric B. If y'all in the rap group or y'all into rap, y'all know who Eric B is, and Rakim, Dougie Fresh, Dead Presidents or Dead Prez, and a myriad of other musicians. I see her work as a contributing writer for The Source magazine. That's where he wrote articles under the name Destiny, Destiny. One of his most famous articles was called Booster Shots, and that achieved critical acclaim. After gaining knowledge of self by 1997, 1998, he traveled abroad exhibiting his artwork at galleries while also studying jurisprudence. After 5 years, he pursued a PhD or Doctorate of Philosophy in jurisprudence from an online correspondence university in London. Upon returning, Aseer and Selena, his beautiful goddess wife, married, and they drove across the entire country on their honeymoon. After returning to Brooklyn, he then went to work as an after-school teacher for New York State Board of Education. He also worked for the MAP program and Catholic Charities. Aseer taught more science and history at community centers and various colleges, such as MST of A, and he was appointed as a sheikh. He began an intense study of history and had a major breakthrough around 1999. In 2003, he was anointed the Duke of Tears by an Ashanti priestess, Empress Nkemwe King. Aseer then embarked on the groundbreaking podcast called Superhero Radio on the Blog Talk Radio, which lasted for an entirety of 7 years. A multi-talented artist, Aseer and Selena both recorded 2 albums under the name Team Cordoba. Aseer also wrote a graphic comic book, and that is called The Dark Skull 418, where you can find that actually on Amazon. That has sold over 50,000 copies, 50,000 ebooks. That's very, very, very impressive. And he received a 5-star rating on Amazon. Aseer, the Duke of Tears, is currently adapting the DS-14 into toys, cartoons, and animated featured film, with the prequel to the DS-418 soon on the way. Team Cordoba is also working on a joint project as well as solo albums. Aseer is currently working on various projects to uplift fallen humanity while raising his family and promoting Moorish cultural existence as a viable lifestyle option. He also has organic hair, skin, and nail products that he has created with his lovely wife, Selena Cordoba Ali. So family, without any further ado, it is my great pleasure to bring on somebody that you all have asked me to bring on right away to explain what is going on with this government shutdown, what in the heck is going on in the world, and how can we prepare our families and our communities as we go into this golden age. Hello, Grand Sheik. It's good to see you. Welcome.
Peace, everybody. Peace, Queen. Can you hear me? You can hear me, right? Can you hear me?
Please. I can
Okay,
hear you
good,
very
good.
well.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for having
Yes.
me on. Thanks to your audience. Thanks to everybody that's been tuning in from wherever you're tuning in from. I really appreciate the support. Again, I really appreciate you having a platform and been consistently
It's our great
providing
pleasure.
a voice, you know what I'm saying, for people from different types of understanding to come together to see what we can do as beings that were born in this hemisphere and at this time, you know what I mean? So honors to you as well. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's start out by, I told you that I really want to talk about how there's been an attack on family. And if you can somehow add that into what's going on with the world and then, finally tell us what we need to do. So,
Um,
take your time. We got all night. The
mhm.
Soul Family is here. We have over 500 people in the
So,
chat already. The people have been waiting. So
all
take your
right.
time and just do your thing. I'm turning the floor completely over to
Islam,
you, Sheik.
Islam, I appreciate you. Um, well, first, we want everybody to first, I want to give honors and respect to all of the people who came before us. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yes.
been out here and don't get any respect and don't get any um accolades, unfortunately, because of different circumstances that led to them overlooked. But then you see that information being spoken and being out through other people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I just want to always give honors to those elders and those people who came before us and laid the groundwork for us to begin to figure it out, regardless to whatever affiliations they may have had, you know what I mean, or didn't have, whatever type of duplicitous nature they were in or weren't in, like they're dead now. So, you know what I mean? We can only learn from the actions that they had. And we are always, all of us are works in progress. And I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit as to, um, we don't place enough emphasis in things like forgiveness and striving to find the intent behind what people do. We just get caught up in the result, in the action. However, the intent usually comes from something pure. You know what I mean? Now,
Yes.
whether that's pure evil or, or pure good, that's dependent on the person. However, we all manifestation, no matter whether you're into new age stuff or a deep, dark occult stuff or whatever, or practical magic, ceremonial magic, science, whatever it is, it all starts with an intent. Even in law, it's
Okay.
the intent. Was the intent to kill this person? Did you
Mm.
intend to do it? See what I'm saying? Because the intent is the spark that allows the non-physical to become physical eventually, if not simultaneously, once the intent is accepted. So, for instance, a measure of intent would be, okay, this person came over to your crib and then jumped out on you, and then you wound up having to stab them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But then if they find, but then so now that's cut and dry. You open the door to do the tattoo, blah 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 blah, right? So the intent in your us, the imaginary person, example is to survive. So the intent is to survive. So you're doing whatever you can to survive.
Yes,
The
sir.
intent is not to kill. The intent is to survive. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't be held for murder. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because you were defending yourself, and in the process of the defense, you want to die because the intent was not to murder this person. The intent was to survive. But then, let's say the defense find out that you had a gun in the car.
Mm.
See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So now they're going to try to flip it on you and be like, well, why'd you have the gun? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like,
Yes.
how come? Even if you ain't had a gun on you, they can try to make the argument that you had an intent to use it, but then if you decided not to or whatever, but then it was still there. Now you may have a not that you need one. You may have a license for the gun. You may always travel with the gun in the dashboard just in case, locked up, right? And that could be viable. Now we got to find out, was it locked? Do you always lock it? Because if it was always locked and this day it was unlocked, that means you might have had. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
See,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
this is why there's a movie called Kingdom of Heaven, right? And there's a scene where Baldwin is speaking to young Balian, right? Before he's trying to convince him that he needs to take the crown so they could protect what's left of Jerusalem from the dirty Moors, the French knight that he was trying to get him to take the thing. So he's sitting there and he's playing chess, and he's like, yo, this is what I want you to do. So then homie is Balian's like, well, I don't really know if I want to do that. So then he looked at him, Baldwin the king looked at him and says, well, you know, ultimately, I'm paraphrasing, but ultimately he's saying, in the end of it all, a man can move his family, a king can move a man, a nation can move people, whatever. But in the end, you are only held accountable for the thing that you do, for what you say you're going to do or not do. So in the end, when you about to face the Almighty, you can't say shit like, oh, well, you know, Donald Trump said that we should do this, or what you call it said we should do that, because you still had a choice not to drop that bomb. You still had a choice not to do this, not to commit that genocide, not to steal those documents, not to take that vaccine, not to sign that contract, not to backdoor this person. But you always have a chance out. But what happens is, in the moment, the consequences outweigh the morality. So now apply that to America as a whole. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Like, the whole industry, it's basically at a stage where it has reached an impasse, and that impasse creates a sub-reality where now anything potentially can happen, because once the seat is vacant, anybody can jump in it. This is what happened in the beginning. You know what I mean? Not in the beginning of all creation, but let's say in the what would become the country we know as America. What would become, all of this was hijacked. You know what I mean? And not that long ago, it was hijacked officially 1871. You know what I mean? But it ceased to exist as a republic in the truest sense of it was up until that point in 1863, when the quorum, the original Republicans, the original so-called Americans, the melanated ones who was running the Continental Congress and all this other stuff, those guys were now being forced to do business with the other guys that was this complexion, but those guys that were dealing more with the importation of white slaves, right, to help bolster their ranks, to then give them more voting power, to then seize more territory, to then switch more laws. You understand? We wasn't with that. So we walked out. So when we all walked out, by we, I'm speaking the royal we of us as the descendants of the original quorum of the so-called United States of America and General Congress Assembled. These guys, right? These guys are different than the framers. Okay, the framers are the compact beings. These are the contracted Transportation Act people who were brought over here once they emptied out the jails and all of them type of people, right? That's different. Those guys were the squires under the real guys who were running everything. But when those guys entered into a compact with these guys now, they then got the right to then give them power of attorney to then do business in their name. And then once they had a right to do that legally, they then went the whole decoy route, period. Because this was a way now where the so-called hidden hand, the so-called black nobility, the so-called talented 10th, the so-called 10%, that's how they now could switch roles. They now could go from looking like the tyrannical black masters to now the timid being taken advantage of house niggas and slaves, right? Meanwhile, their decoys are now doing business, right? To then force business on other people who look like us that wasn't with none of this. But we are looking at what's in front of us. So we see these white people in front of us. You understand what I'm saying? Wearing the uniforms that we know our people who was related to them was wearing. But now they wearing. So to us now on the ground, the pale skins is now doing business on behalf of this class that has now recessed itself, right? And is acting like it doesn't have any political cachet still. When all they're doing is just creating a surety situation where these decoy white boys, i.e. Sons of Liberty, i.e. Daughters of the American Revolution, i.e. Regular Masons, right? Ex-slaves were now able to have a certain group of societies for themselves where they now could congress and be whatever they wanted to be, so long as they paid money back to the people that put them in that position. You see what I'm saying?
So do I understand you to say that the hidden hand are people that look like us?
Yes.
But the people that were running things were the pale skin or the so-called white man.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Now, these people that look like us, where did they come from?
Europa.
Okay, so
Let me
they
get my
are.
charger. I don't want the
Got
phone
it.
off. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay. Come on in, Soul Family. He's going to charge his phone, but I just wanted to bring him on to explain a little bit about the history of America so that he can tell us how we got into the predicament where we are, where we have 442 government agencies actually controlling the way we do business, controlling our families, controlling our relationships, and basically leading us to HELL. Okay. But before we talk about where we are today with this government shutdown and the overturning of the Chevron doctrine and massive layoffs, we have to go back to talk about history. So he's laying the groundwork or doing what we say, framing his dissertation with talking about how the hidden hand or Moors came from Europe and they brought slaves here that were the Caucasians or the pale skin to infiltrate or to take on certain positions so it can make it look like they're the ones running things when actually there was a hidden hand behind them. I've talked to you all about that when I talked to you about the 13 bloodlines that were controlling things. I said there's 13 bloodline families and I listed them off. And I said, but there are 13 bloodlines that control those bloodline families. And it's just a big old mess, family. What happened here in America and all across the globe. That's why we brought a historian to explain those things, because many of us have been miseducated. We've been lied to about everything. Most of the things you've been told is actually the opposite. Okay. And this is why we got to get control of our own educational systems, our own food source, our own spiritual institutions, all of that. We have to get control and maintain control. We can never get back here again where we're so dependent on the government that we can barely function. And having said that, we'll turn it back over into the hands of the Sheik.
Peace.
Aseer, the Duke of Tears.
Peace. Okay. I think this is good. You can still see me, right?
Yes, I can see you very well, and I can hear you as well. You're welcome.
Okay, great. So, yeah, they were playing Russian roulette with people's identity, and then going back and forth. I thought I had the book on me.
Take your time.
Was trying to go back and forth, and then trying to get everybody to co-sign their fictitious way of life. This is a book that everybody can get. No, it's called Rebels, Pretenders, and Imposters. This basically is a book and gets into how a lot of the so-called European Renaissance and all of that was them redoing a history so that way these types of people could hide, because we're not. So when we say who they are, we're talking about when they talk about the papal bloodline, the 13 families, right?
Yes.
There's the basic ones, the ones you know here in America, but then the other ones, the Aldombrani, the Parsini, the Orsini, the Farnese, the Pahlavici, they the ones that run Islam. They pay for all that. All of this is coming from the ancient world, because what these guys are all doing and have been doing since the last reset is trying to get rid of those of us that wasn't with the genetic manipulation, the breeding programs, the illicit kidnappings, the forced amalgamations, the organ harvesting, necromancy, the eating of it. You understand? Like during the Victorian era, one of the main diets of those so-called Victorians was mummies, was our people, that the so-called dark-skinned and light-skinned pale Arabs started to dig out the ground after they imported them in there from the desert, because remember, there was no Egypt as a nation until after the British set it up. You know what I'm saying? And so all of these so-called colonial countries were all at one point territories and dominions of the old Moorish Empire. That at its decay and fall, it then splintered into different dominions, and then those dominions, some of them became kingdoms. But then once the enemies that were planted within all of these different places unified, right? They actually had a Congress. They call it the Congress of Wilhelmsbad in about I-782. And at that Congress, it was allegedly presided over by John Hanson Bey, because John Hanson Bey of the Continental Congress was also of the Swedish royalty. His family come from Swedish royalty. They were part of the Dens or the Danes or the Danars or the Denmarks or the Denmores, right, who ruled the Netherlands under the so-called Dutch Empire, right?
Isn't that the first president, John Hanson?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the one who paid for Washington and them to get their shoes, because they was all but destitute and destroyed when they was freezing in Valley Forge, when they didn't let them come out the thing. So he came out of his own pocket. He didn't even use the continental money. He came out of his own pocket, bought shoes for all the niggas, and basically gave them the framework of how the government was going to be. Because remember, the government was based on the framework of the Iroquois Confederacy. That Iroquois Confederacy was based upon all the Iroquois. First is a French word. So, but when we go back to French, right? There was no French up until a certain point. You know what I'm saying? So anything prior to, let's say, the Napoleonic era, we're talking about different territories under the guise of the name France, right? So you had a bunch of people who were francophones, meaning that they spoke different Romance dialects of French, but they weren't necessarily French, a part of a one French people. So you had Belgians who spoke French, you had Haitians who spoke French, you had even in the court of Castile, the Spanish, the Castilian Spanish they were speaking at first was basically French. And the Castilian, the French that the French was based speak of at that time was more like Spanish. That's why the term Latino is actually come from Latino, which is a French word. That the French speakers tried to put on the Latin, the Spanish speakers in dominions that the French was still trying to take over. So they was trying to get them to be something else, so that way they could work with them to get rid of the so-called black tyrant, the black power structure. So what you got to realize is when we read the black codes, right, 1782 and all this other type of stuff, because we've been trained to identify black with a skin color and a certain type of people, we're missing the forest for the trees. What if in I-782, when it came out the black codes, that at the time, who was considered black? It wasn't us. It wasn't us. The only people who was dark skinned that were considered black at that time were people Moors, right? Had come into conflict with and took as prisoners of war and then sold into the system. See what I'm saying? But they had rights and privileges because they, even though they were infidels, right, they were still of the connection based on the complexion. But it wasn't racism. It wasn't based on race then because it's all the same people. So we can't be racist because these people mad dark, these people mad dark, these people mad dark. What's the difference? It got to be something else. So humans are always going to find something to bigger about. So we can't beef on color. We'll beef on class. We'll beef on language. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so that's what happened. Everybody started trying to do their thing, and then they wanted to create different versions of themselves. So then you had a group that decided they was going to physically create people now. We're going to create a whole nother type of people. So that's when the Moors went up in there in the wilds and found the wood wolves and the whites rolling around and barking like dogs and shit and all of that. And they took time and started working them. And then eventually we get people we call Sicilians and Italians and these type of people today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, and you know this is true because even those that hate us, like the Italians and the people, and they be calling us guineas and all that, that's because that's where we used to sell them at. We used to sell them in the Guinea. Again, I'm not laughing. It's cool to sell people. I'm just saying the irony, the words that they use to defame us is the shit that we use to control them. So they was calling us guineas. Then they call us moolies, right? But moolie is mule. Mule Ishmael had over 10,000 Circassian slaves that he was selling all around the world. You understand what I'm saying? So much so that some of them, the ones that even would adopt elements of the religion of Islam, they were able to actually rise to. That's how the Mamelukes blew up. The Mamelukes was able to rule all of Egypt for one point, and they only imported. And this is white people now. These was Caucasians that was taken out of the cave, civilized, put in the janissary system, did so well in fighting wars against other Moors on behalf of Moors that they were given their own little set trap. And in that set trap, they would basically take jobs from the different bays and the L's from around the world wanting to do stuff, usually to hold down other Caucasians. So to keep their ranks the way that they wanted, they started importing their own people. They started enslaving their own people and bringing them into that because that was the only way that they could bring their people into civilization. You can read about this in the Golden Age of the Moors. You can read about this is even in Shakespeare. That's who Iago was. Iago was one of these people. That's why he hated Othello so much in the story. Because Iago was descendant of this class that essentially was enslaved by Othello. And the Venetians, Othello was now in league with because he went from being straight Islamic type Moor, and by Islamic, I don't necessarily mean Muslim. I'm saying the elements of what the Islamic culture is outside specifically of the religion that founded itself, because that had to come out of something. So that thing that it came out of before the so-called advent of Islam, that's us. That's why we separated and they did their thing, right? Because they were still connected to the Romans and the Catholics. Those of us that was connected to the high priest of Anu, who had left from so-called Egypt over there, from here, went over there, then Egypt over there went into the western portion of so-called Africa. Moor means westerner, right? So everything west of Mali, what to us was the Maghreb al-Aqsa. So from Mali all the way to Alaska. That's where we rock it. This is how we live. So essentially, that's the only way those guys could come up. So they was enslaving their own people. They created their own laws to enslave their own people, to bring their own people into civilization, because that's how they did it. That's why the word slave only applies to them, because that was the national descent name of those peoples who were put under that type of burden for as long as they can remember. You know what I'm saying? They were freer when they were in the cave. They were freer when they was wild men and wild women in the woods, and you know what I'm saying, and all that type of shit. It's when we went to deal with them. Why? Because they were just another offshoot product of the earlier products from the earlier pre-flood periods. You understand? The so-called Denisovians and the so-called Neanderthals and these types of proto-human things. We were living like this analogous to them. But there was no genetic interaction with us in there. That's why we wiped them out. That's why we're the only ones on the planet that don't have, we're RH negative. We don't have recess money. Unless, you see what I'm saying? We, at some point in our genetic history, gave DNA to this breeding program that we don't want to really act like it's even real or whatever. So when I say breeding program, people will maybe think of Yakub and stuff, and you're not wrong to think about that. However, you want to circumscribe that with the understanding of when that legend was brought into the community, who brought it into the community, why was it so pervasive, and what was it really there to shield. So ultimately it was truth. It's just that when you personify it in the way it was characterized, some people, it was put in a way where it's ambiguous enough where people can dissuade it. But science has already proven what we talking about, that these people only developed and came out of this situation like 6,000 years ago. So there's no way they could have built anything, any of the buildings, any of the stuff that they tell us, any of the monuments, any of that stuff that they tell us they was doing, because they weren't here. You know what I'm saying?
One second.
Just because
Aseer,
a group of necromancers and sorcerers got together at the Vatican and decided that they was going to create a new timeline so that way they could manipulate those under their dominions, right? But that didn't mean everybody was under that. You know what I'm saying? The world that we was in went on just fine without them. We only had issues when they showed up trying to take shit on behalf of somebody else. See what I'm saying? Because they didn't have the money. They didn't have the resources to do none of this. They tell you they could.
looks like he's frozen. Can you all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. He's frozen. I can send him a text, but if you're enjoying this so far and you would like to contribute to the Grand Sheik Aseer, the Duke of Tears, then he would greatly appreciate a blessing or a donation to his Cash App at $DS418. That's $DS418. And in the meantime, I'm going to call him and let him know that I do not hear him. You can hear me? Okay, good. We can't hear him. I don't know if he knows he's frozen or not. One second, I got my microwave beeping. Okay, I think it stopped. Give him a quick call. Yeah, he's out. Again, if you're enjoying it so far and you would like to contribute to Aseer, the Duke of Tears, this is his Cash App. You all know I love to support our guests and let them know that we appreciate them coming on to share their wisdom, their knowledge, and their information. So I'm going to call him. If you can hold on briefly, family, I'll let him know that he got kicked out.
Please leave your message for.
And he's not answering, so he must not know. Let me send him another link. What do you all think about this so far, family? Very, very interesting how we've been taught something and the opposite is actually what's true. But I have heard that in this new reality, we'll have history books that will be rewritten or correct history or herstory, whatever, or cultural information that will be taught. And some of us will need to write history for our own families. Remember, there used to be a time when we would have meetings and reunions where you would actually have family tree, and somebody in your family would actually create the family tree and talk about each branch of your family members on both sides of your family. And they would explain stories or history according to factual information based on the information passed down from the elders. It's about time we actually get back to that. And not only get back to that, but write books ourselves to share with our family members their own history. Otherwise, you're going to be learning somebody else's history in the schools. So I'm going to see what's going on with our guest, Aseer, see if he can come back. I did send him a new link. And in the meantime, I do want to show you all something he was talking about, and that was the group of 13 bloodline families. There are bloodlines that we think run the world, like the Astor, the Bundy, the Collins, the DuPont, the Freeman, the Kennedy, the Lee bloodline, the Onassis, the Reynolds, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Russells, and the Van Duyn. But there's a whole bloodline list, and he named some of them that control those bloodline families: the Borgia, the Breakspear, the Somaglia, the Orsini, the Conti, the Shigi, the Colonna, the Farnaces, the Medici, the Gattini, the Pamphili, the Este, and the Aldobrandi. These here are melanated people, Moors, okay, dark complected people, the hidden hand, possibly also what they call the Black nobility.
Right.
Okay, you said right. Okay, let me get out of here.
My
And
bad. Yeah, I
let,
don't know. You be going in and they be doing that sometimes.
are you here with us, Aseer?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Again,
All right,
family,
hold
if
on.
you're enjoying this so far, feel free to support Aseer the Duke of Tears. I'm going to put up his Cash App one more time, just for those of you.
Thank you.
There's a lot. You're welcome. People like and enjoy supporting our special guests, to let them know that we really, really appreciate you. So that would be Cash App DS418. And as we get in further into the podcast, we'll talk about how you can support him and buy his books and his artwork, et cetera, et cetera. But go ahead, Grand Sheik. We want you to continue on sharing the information that you were
Thank you.
giving us.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. It basically, that's what the Renaissance and all of that was about. Like, they hid this stuff for a reason, because if the play was to take the estates of the original peoples that was already here in America, right,
Mhm.
i.e. the mound builders, the original peoples, the so-called barbarous nations as they were listed, right?
Yes.
They were free from everything else that we was free from everything else that was going on, because the way that it works is, we, after the last flooding and the recess, we then went out, and then we went out from here as ancient, let's say ancient post-flood Canaanites, who become Phoenicians, who become Carthaginians, who become Etruscans, who become Levantines, who become Minoans, who become so-called Egyptians. All of those things, all of those people started out melanated. All the way up to the Spartans, the Spartans, all of those peoples. Okay, they were just different members of those peoples who had dispersed after a certain time, right? After the dispensation. Then the peoples who gave them that knowledge, us, we then left, came back here, right? Because this is also a time when you're still dealing with like what you would call zoomorphic or alternative beings that exist, you know what I mean? That are now trying to set themselves up as gods over people, and then they're trying to then create their own versions when that's not what the source set them up to do. Like, people think these gods just came out of nowhere, you know what I mean? Like, nothing exists without the main source allowing it to be so. So the source, God, Allah, whatever it is, whatever the ultimate is, we can't even name it what you know what I'm saying, what it truly is. So for us to give it acknowledgement is insignificant to it. It doesn't need it, but it likes it. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
keep talking, Sheik. I'm going to get me some tea, but I can hear you.
yeah, so it likes it. You know what I'm saying? So because it likes it, it's good to give thanks and for things that are in front of you and unseen. So that element of the force that allows us all to move forward in life or whatever we decide to engage in is too inexplicable to be circumscribed by the mortal thoughts of men. Yet man has the potential to reach those levels of thought, right? Because they say God is the dream of man. Man is the reality of God. So just like you have captains and lieutenants, that's in everything. So when they tell us about the angels and the seraphims and the this and the that, like that's all dope. Those are just different orders of beings that were us, that were existed in a higher aspect or higher ratio of understanding. Yet the fact that they could fall to a lower degree is letting you know that there's another component to that fall, because we're speaking about us really going from one aspect of staying within this realm and then falling, let's say, the more physical, the more energy we start giving to lower based ideas, lower based thoughts that have less to do with spirituality and more to do with scientific reason, absent of spirituality, which negates our ability to divine the power out of both. So therefore you shut down one element of your reality and now you're only focusing on that. And as you focus on that, that becomes the only thing that you see. So then anything that's coming from this side, the truly divine side, that is now hitting you in the head with it, you always coming up with a scientific reason as to why that's happening, when really the science is another form of religion. It's just a negative religion. It's a religion based upon the absence of the soul, the absence of the proof of divinity, which is what all science is really there studying. We're all studying different aspects of creation. Creation is the manifestation of this thing that is so immense that it could not be perceived by the thing. So it had to create levels that by which people could get back to it. Now the enemy's job, see, our goal, why they've trained us to be able to strive to be divine or righteous enough to be able, when we leave here, we get to be reunited, right? The enemy, the small hats, their view of it is different. Their view is they believe that they have to bring God down to their level. So that way they can replace him, put their false God on his throne, and then worship that, thereby making them God over the original. This is their religion. This is what the Talmud based on. This is what the Mishnah based on. This is what all that's based on. See, the Torah not based on that. The Torah is based on the Old Covenant and trying to delete what was left of the antediluvian bloodlines that were trying to remanifest themselves, right? So that was one covenant. So that's, let's say, Adam and Eve. That's one covenant. In that covenant, they got usurped according to their story. Now let's go into your Christian understanding. The Christian understanding was that Adam and Eve were usurped by the serpent, and then they had to go, right? But there was two trees of life. There was the tree of life that they couldn't eat from, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? They don't talk to you about that one, though. They don't talk to you about the one that they ate from that they wasn't supposed to, because they didn't get a chance to go to the other, according to the story. They got kicked out right after that. So the understanding on that is the serpent was able to usurp the birthright legally from Adam via Eve, because she was the first betrayer, right, of the mythos story. You understand? She was the one who agreed with the serpent and then coaxed her man, whom she knew the father told her not to do that. But because of his relationship with her, his worldly relationship with her allowed him to circumvent his divine responsibility that was given. Because we was only given, according to today's story, we were only given a certain mandate, which was to live free, multiply, dominate. That's it. The other understanding that people have to understand is God never created no religion for itself.
Mm.
Any God telling you to create a religion for him is not the real God. That's the Son of Man. You understand? That's
Okay.
some sort of fallen entity. You understand? That was given dominion. Because like they say after the in the story of Babel, when they all got split up, it says that everybody would receive their portion according to the number of the sons of man. What does that mean? The regular scholars say, oh, they talking about the portion of how many sons was in the group. No. Doesn't.
Uh-oh, he's frozen again. This was just getting good too. Well, until he comes back, family, I want to show you Aseer, the Duke of Tears. What is it? His Facebook page, because somebody was just saying in the chat that they were just looking at his Facebook. I'm not his Facebook, excuse me. That's the wrong thing. They were just looking at Aseer, the Duke of Tears, a YouTube channel. I saw whoever said that. And you were saying you had looked at about 4 of his videos and you said, oh my gosh, that would be a good person to bring on Dr. Kia Pruitt show. And it just so happened that your thoughts were manifested. You manifested him. And you were saying that in the chat. So we've had Aseer, the Duke of Tears on many times, but this is the first time we've had him on in several months. If you want to look more into his teachings, this is his YouTube page, Aseer, the Duke of Tears. And he has several videos that he's done here, a few shorts here as well. And maybe, I think he even posted some information from his wife's website, some of the products that she sells. And we'll get into that a little later. I think he's going to talk about some of his products. I don't see him, but that is his YouTube there. If you're interested in all natural organic products while we're waiting for Aseer, the Duke of Tears, then let me show you their website here, if I can find it. We'll bring his beautiful wife, Sister Selena Cordoba, onto our program again. She's been on a few times. Here is her website, and it is called CordobaOrganics.com. They do this business together, but she's mostly the person that runs the business, and she does all of the mixing, all full raw organic products. She has body care, face care, hair care, and more things, all pure ingredients. She can even create some jewelry, oils, essential oils, and she can create some of these products based on your your sign. What's it called? What kind of sign? Like if you're a Libra, I can't think of the type of sign, what they call it, your astrological sign. She can create those products just for you, specifically for the month, for you, based on the month in which you were born. So that is her website there. I put it in the chat for you all to see, so that when we bring her on, you will already be ready to order some products. I want to talk to her about whether or not we can get a special code. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the atmosphere. Put that in Aseer's ear. If we could get a special code for the Soul family, that would be amazing, family. And then I want you all to tag her when you buy products, do videos, tag her, let people know how amazing her products are for your hair, skin, and nails. Having said that, I see that Aseer, the Sheik, is back.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It
Phone
happens.
keep going out, man.
It happens. We're just happy that you're here. Oh, yes, your horoscope. She can design products based on your horoscope. Thank you so much for that. Who is that? Right to Right. Thank you. Yes. It's amazing. I've gotten some from her, and they are beautiful. And when you see pictures of her, oh my God, she's gorgeous. She has very dark, ebony, rich complexion. She has long locks all the way down to the floor. Just a very lovely, beautiful lady. So her products, if they can do it for her, surely, family, surely they can do it for us.
The phone not in there got too hot.
Okay, we're back. Oh, the phone got too hot.
Yep. Let's just like shut all the way down. So
Take your time. We're here.
Yeah. So where was we at? No. So
We were talking about Eve in the scripture. How a fallen entity creates a religion for itself.
Yes. So that's what they did. They started creating all of these fake. They were supposed to basically, as they were apportioned, to go to man itself. They were supposed to basically be like ministers to it, right?
Yes.
And they didn't do that. What they did was they basically taught them how to use and control people and get those people to worship them. So they taught them all of these things, and then from there they started doing that. But all of that knowledge was hijacked from the fact that they themselves have received that from a higher authority to them. So the Moors could trace a lot of stuff back to the pre-Canaanite god they refer to as El or Elion, right? Or Elion, right? Thank you, Queen. And he was a part of a hierarchy where you had another dude, Anu, right? And then you have Enki and Enlil. So everybody's getting into the Anunnaki and this and that, but they're a triune system. That's why most gods come in threes in the third density. So whether it's Isis, Osiris, and Horus, or if it's Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, or if it's Alat, Isis, Urania, and Malak, right? Who were the pre-versions of the Pale Arab deities, one of the 365 they used to have at the Kaaba.
And Aseer, Aset, and Heru.
Right. You know, all of these are just different variations of this cosmology that infects third density to allow people to reinvest their energies into alternative vehicles instead of what's within them that then goes without. So
Wow.
Yeshua was the one that says, no, the temple of God is within. You know what I mean? And that, you know, he never started a religion. You know what I'm saying? None of these things were started. They were created by people who saw a power vacuum and were able to exploit that momentum and mental energy that the people were expelling into that specific event that allows them to pull that energy out and then create a whole new situation that they now can rule from, and then find ways to, again, reinstate these non-physical entities that they believe is giving them this type of information. So you're not dealing with the person in front of you. You're dealing with whatever entity that they agreed to be down with once they joined up with whatever group that was. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if you are a Muslim, whether you know it or not, your dawah is going to the Muslim Brotherhood. And most of the people at the top of the Muslim Brotherhood are straight Satanists. You know what I mean? They are wicked and evil. Like right now, a lady, some leader in Africa from one of them countries that the Arabs is in, banned them from marrying children under 18 or whatever. And all of these freak pedophile old Muslim dudes, imams, is out there protesting this shit with the flare-on red beards and shit. They out there bugging like, you can't let us not marry babies that's like 3. So if you want to diss the small hats for that, how come you ain't going at the imams and them for that? They doing the same thing, if not worse. Because at the very top, they all are under the same deity. Zoroaster is the one that created Judeo-Christianity. Zoroaster is the one that helped create Islam, the religion, as the Pale Arabs understand it through their prophet and all of that. Like Zoroaster is the one that helped influence Hinduism and all of that. But people don't read. They don't understand how these things collapse into one another. But there was one time in history when the Achaemenid Empire, who they call the Persian Empire, who again, is melanated people, okay? These were pagans, but they had reached a certain degree of excellence where they had a symmetry between their magic, their culture, their gods, and their statesmanship. So they was able to boom. So when they really came into power, the reason why they were able to do that is because they waged war against all of the nations of the earth up until that point.
Okay.
You understand? And they had basically won. But now that the wars was over, they put out the first decree of human rights ever. And they said that everybody had the right to worship whatever God they wanted, whatever they wanted to do, blah, 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 blah. Then they went so far as to say, look, any temples or structures or cities that was destroyed during the conflict, we will pay to have them all rebuilt. And everybody did. So the Persians, they had the money, but they didn't have the expertise, the architectural understanding, the scientific metallurgy that it takes to erect megalithic edifices. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't. So who they went to? To the Egyptians, of course, because who else going to do it, right? So the Persians paid the Egyptians to then go and build temples for all of the other people, whether it be the Hebrews or the this one or that one or this one or that one, the Hindu, whoever it was, wherever it was in the world, you want a temple built, we'll do it for you. But in doing that, they put themselves under the spiritual and legal jurisdiction of Persia. You know what I'm saying? Of the Prince of Persia, who's listed in the Bible as one of the princes of hell.
Sure is.
Right?
Sure is.
So from that point on, everybody was now technically under the Persian Empire. You understand what I'm saying? And this went on up until allegedly Alexander, right? Who was the son of Philip. King Philip of Macedon was a vassal king to Hannibal. So a lot of the strategies that Alexander is given credit for was coming to him by way of his father, who was also a great warlord, great campaignist. You know what I'm saying? You read, if anybody into reading about war and how tactics is, you read about King Philip, his structures, his battle sites was off the chain. He revolutionized the phalanx and a lot of stuff. But anyway, a lot of that came, and Alexander benefited from that. So when Alexander now conquers Persia, right? But at this time, Persia is Babylon, right? But remember, Persia and Babylon is also Egypt. Egypt is Babylon. Okay. If you look at the history in the 1800s, the Sultan of Egypt was called the Sultan of Babylon because Egypt was Babylon. We can find this in the writings of Leonardo da Vinci when he wrote to his homeboy to try to steal some artifacts out of there. He had to get permission from the Sultan of Babylon. Babylon's in Egypt because Babylon and Egypt, the same people. They're all the same people. They're all the same. Technically the same people in the ancient times. What's different from them is custom. Yeah. So
Egypt over in Africa.
Egypt over there, right? When you're talking about Egypt over there, it's Egypt over there. Kemet is over here.
Okay.
But they done forgot about Kemet. Kemet is like the God realm. That's why they, you know what I'm saying? That's why all the stuff over here is so hidden. But Egypt over there now is in play in terms of the reconstructed narrative history that they're building through these cults that are posing as religions that are really demonic statecraft to be able to damn all of the populaces to hell because they want to bring these non-physical entities back into this physical reality to inhabit bodies because they know that the judgment is imminent. You know what I'm saying? So, like to us, when we read about the fall of Lucifer and all this other type of stuff, right? We thinking it's thousands of years ago. Yeah, to us maybe, but to these niggas, it just happened like 2 days ago. You understand what I'm saying? They don't exist in time the way we do. So
Okay.
to them, the flood just happened.
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
they never died, because they never was able, once the shit happened and everybody got wiped out, they wasn't supposed to exist in the first place. So what did they become? They became wandering spirits. They became demonic, non-physical entities, thought forms that can align themselves with other thought forms in people and then form parasites within those people, right? And then from those parasites, control the people, right? To get
Okay.
those people to physically alter their bodies to look like the parasite. So when you see these people with the tattoos all over their face and the piercings and all that, take a picture of that and put that next to a picture of a parasite. They look the same because they're altering the host body to fit their own archetype. And the host body just thinks that it's goth, or it thinks that it's into tattoos, or just likes piercings. No, it's all of the parasites, right? Which are really non-physical entities, because technically they don't exist. Like, there's different things in this reality that phase in and out of this reality. For
Okay.
instance, there's a thing called monatomic gold, right?
Yes.
Some scientists did some experiment on it and they heated it up. I forget the Kelvin that they got it to. I gotta find the video. But they heated it up to a point that it got so hot that it disappeared. It was gone.
I have some.
See? Well, they got it in a powder form somehow.
Yeah, the powder. Yeah,
Powder,
this
right. And they
real
started
potent.
heating it up. I forget the exact type it was. Because I don't know, because you know, there's a lot of different types now. But
Yeah.
the experiment was they turned it on, it disappeared. After about 15, 20 minutes, they went back and looked at the tape and they saw it recontextualizing itself as the power. So that's what I'm saying. There are things that are not, that are transmutable from one state, from one ground to the other.
Okay.
The problem is the people in charge are the ones that have been using this technology to try to, like I said, reincorporate these beings into our reality again. But it was our ancestors that wiped them out. We got rid of them. We destroyed them to the point that they had no recourse up until I-492. And that was because the ruling powers at that time had reached a point where the 60% satisfied and the 40% dissatisfied were now at such odds with each other that another group could come in and then supplant them both. That became known as the 6 European nations, right? Who were all Romans.
Okay.
The 6 European nations: France,
Okay.
Britain, Germany, and the other three. Right?
6 European nations.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
But remember, there is no Europe. Europe is not a continent.
Okay.
Asia is a continent. That part of Europe is West Asia. You understand? So those Western Asiatics, i.e. Black nobility, who had been there from time immemorial, from the time of the so-called Grimaldi people, when they were blonde-haired, blue-eyed, dark-skinned people there, right? Those people were all a part of those cultures that after the war of what they call the Sea Kings dispersed themselves up into Western Asia from what today we call the Mediterranean region up into there. So when we talk about the Vikings, those are all Danites. Those are, again, melanated peoples who were a part of the serpent culture, which was part of those ancient cultures that were at war with those who were trying to create the modern cultures, i.e. the Romans in them. That's why they always had beef, because the Romans is trying to resurrect their gods, Zeus in them. Right? But after the fall of Rome, when Rome was faced now with Attila and them, Rome then acquiesced and joined up with their enemy, the Persians. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
So the Persian gods blended with the Roman gods to fight against the so-called Tartarian gods, Attila and them. But then Attila and them married into the Roman side of it. So now all these sons of man gods, right? Egotistical maniacs is joining up with these armies. They're now setting themselves up as nations, and now they're trying to move on everybody that's not trying to be pagan. That's not trying to be transhuman. That's not trying to worship idols. That's not trying to sacrifice babies. That's what the Hebrews was doing, bro. That's what they were doing. That's what they still doing. They still got them doing that. How? How did they do that? Well, when you read the story in the Bible, that's why the prophet said, Moors don't get rid of your Bibles, because we're going to need this to straighten this shit out for these people, because they're not seeing it. It says that when Musa went up into the mountain to speak to the Most High, right? Again, we're going by the story. We're not talking about what we believe. We're talking about what these people who are running the world right now believe.
Musa being Moses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we're talking about it from this perspective, because technically we're really the ancient observers of this all. The watchers, really. Because remember, we're the ones that fell. The elves. We're the ones that fell and then had to redeem ourselves to get back, because parts of our family was engaged in all of this bullshit that I'm talking to you about, that we today see as science and genetic gene engineering and all this other type of stuff. This shit ain't nothing new.
Well, when you say we fail, it makes it seem like you're saying we're gods or angels or ancestors or non-human
I'm
entities.
saying that we were the first to inherit the kingdom.
Okay.
After the creation. According to today's story, he said what? Be fruitful, multiply, dominate. That's what he said. That's all we were supposed to do. That's all we need to do.
Okay.
You understand? He didn't say dominate. We already had dominion. We already had it all. You understand? We already had it all. And everybody that was around prior to our manifestation, right? They was all done. Their time was up. Their version of humanity was over. That's why we can only speculate on what they was. Because we made it so that once they say, okay, we get dominion, why? Because these niggas is creating goat men and hawk-headed people. And then these hawk-headed goat people, winged people, is now setting themselves up to be God, when that's not what the source set them out to do. He set them out to portion the nations, so that way eventually they would give their glory back to the source. That's how it's supposed to go. But they set themselves as that. So you got these people now that's why you got these people today saying, oh, the Anunnaki, that's God. Or the what you call it, those is God. The Pleiadians, those God. None of these niggas is God. None of them. Nobody that is coming into third density is better than you or I. Because if they were, they wouldn't be here.
Wow. Okay.
Because this is the realm of imperfectness. So if you are sublime entity with nothing but benevolence within self, you're gonna stay where it's at. Why would you come back here? Why would you do that?
Right.
Why would you do that? And if you did, you're not gonna be who you was. How you even remember that? How you even remember that old name? Because the part of you that's human, when you died, you reached the edge. And there's a part of you that was human, and then once you physically die, you beyond that now. You're going back to what you originally were or are, which is a manifestation of the source.
Yes.
Source don't got no form. Source everywhere.
Yes.
At the same time. So I asked that question to then ask this question. So then if that's true, then who are these people channeling when they say they channeling ancestors and channeling this one and channeling their grandmother and they old cat and this? Who are they really talking? Who are they really talking to? You don't know. How do you know? because they have the traits of the thing I'm trying to manifest. How you know that? You know how easy it is to take a form when you don't have one? To take alternative form when you don't have one, you be whatever you want. You say whatever you want. Some of them don't even want to leave. So, and some of them can't because they was never really born in the first place. So if you wasn't born in the first place, don't got no soul, but then you was given life. And then now you're physically dead. What do you think happens to you? You just around here. You're gonna graft onto whatever was the most like you in that thought form, because now, or you'll become whatever you gotta be to be brought down into this union, into this ritual. That's why Crowley and these ceremonial practitioner magicians and stuff would take years to perform summonings and things like that. They would have to prepare the space for years. You would have to have some of them, the real ones like John D and them niggas. Now, let's forget them because they're the evil ones. Let's talk about somebody good. Somebody like Randolph. Randolph would have a room that he wouldn't go in, that would just be dark for years. Wouldn't even go into the room for years, and then would soundproof it. And then would just go in there after a certain time to get in, to commune or whatever he did. I'm saying that to say that it's not just get the Ouija board, put the circle on the floor, put the pentagram on the floor. Now we doing it. First, you got to understand what these symbols even mean. You think Baphomet is a goat. That's not what that is. That's a uterus. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a uterus that you're looking at. You know what I mean? But they made it like a goat with the devil and all this. So you thinking that. So now there's a whole group of people who have now given thought form, evil energy to this entity named Baphomet that don't even exist. That the Freemasons know is just an allegory for the light and the dark, the yin and yang, and specifically the uterus of the female.
Can you explain the meaning behind that symbolism of the uterus?
Look at the symbol of a ram's head.
Okay.
Look at the symbol of Baphomet's head. Then look at a picture of a uterus. It's all the same thing.
So why are they worshiping the uterus? That's deep.
Because they are striving to impregnate the Shekinah realm. This is how deep these niggas are. It's deep. This is in the Talmud, though. Now we talking about Talmudic magic. Now we talking about Talmudic shit, and you know that's straight evil.
Yeah.
So the Talmud, like when you see the Hasids and they at the Wailing Wall and they doing this.
Yes.
You ever see that? They be doing that. They got the book and they going back and forth.
Yes. Yes.
You and I think they're praying, but what the Talmud says is that they are giving their essence to. They are having sex with Shekinah, who is Chokmah, who is the goddess, who is also the goddess Asherah, who is the wife of Yahweh.
They never talk about the wife of Yahweh, Asherah.
Deal with that. They're not going to deal with that because, again, they have to dominate the uterus. They have to dominate the female because the female is the weakest link. The female is the Eve. She's the one who agreed to the first legal contract, to the first betrayal, remember? So any play that they work, they got to work through the female. That's why Jasmine Crockett is popping. That's why AOC is popping. That's why Oprah's popping. That's why Beyonce popping. That's why everybody that you see on mainstream TV is popping, because they are manifestations of this thing. And they've agreed to it.
Somebody said it's Sophia. They don't believe it's Asherah, but I've heard of Yahweh's wife.
Sophia means Egypt. That's another name for Egypt.
Okay.
They used to call us they used to call Egypt Sophia, and they used to call Arabia Felix.
So, but what's wrong with giving homage to the uterus?
Nothing.
Okay.
But when they do it, they're doing it because they are. The uterus is how the Savior came into the world.
Right.
So remember, the devil, they can't create nothing. You know what I'm saying? Evil cannot create anything. Only thing evil can do is take what God already made and pervert it and try to turn it into something else. So they want to have the type of uterus that they can bring demons through. That uterus represents the uterus of the harlot of Babylon. Okay. That Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons worked so hard to manifest in reality in 1949, 1950. Okay. But the demon tricked them. Once they opened it up with the rituals, with the human sacrifices, with the baby eating stuff that they did on the USS Eldridge, that's where they did it. One of the places they did it. They opened it up. And then right after that, you start hearing about UFOs and stuff like this, because the goal of the entity was to make it so that way it wouldn't have to go back. So once Parsons opened up the joint, the entity then went to Parsons again and was like, yo, we could do this type of thing with this type of rocket, and it wound up blowing him up. But remember, you need the one who, the key master, right, to close the lock. He's dead now. Crowley old. L. Ron Hubbard, at this point, he's sleeping with Parsons' wife. So, and now Parsons dead. So the portal opened. So now the U.S. government now has to figure out what's going on. So they got one of the black nobility families to put a word in to one of the American subsidiary families called the Collins family. And then the Collins family then created something called the Collins Trust. Then the Collins Trust created a subdivision within the Department of Defense, in which they actively started to pursue occult, satanic worship, consult mediums, go to rituals, go to human sacrifices, and all this other type of stuff. This was all paid for. This is all public record. You could go read it. This is when the occult started infesting the government openly now. Right after that, that's when they hired Michael Aquino, who had just become the head of the Temple of Set, put him in the games and theory section of the Air Force, and then assigned him and his division over an army base called the Presidio. And then 11 years after that, we find out there's all these tunnels leading from the Presidio to the daycares that was all around the tribe, that area. And so the media tried to cover it up with this thing they put out called the Satanic Panic, where they put out a bunch of fake satanic stuff that they would find out to be not true, to be able to conceal the fact now that this thing was on and these demons is now out here because the portal is open. It's wide open. So this is when the serial killers start. Remember, all of this happened after World War II, when they brought all the paperclip people here, and all of them niggas was already dealing, the white versions was already dealing with the satanic and the occult and manifesting demons and all this other type of stuff, opening portals and shit. So they brought all them people by way of the Vatican, brought them in through Argentina, up into Bolivia, into mainland America, put them into the government, and then these are the people who eventually became a part of the Collins Trust. And then the Collins Trust people, at the end of this, realized that they themselves now, by actually participating and being members of the so-called federal government, they now are a part of it. You understand? They're now through acquiescence, by keeping it quiet, they now have agreed to it. Unknowingly now they're in it. So now you start hearing about alien abductions. Now you start hearing about Eisenhower making the deal, and then Roswell. Now you start hearing about UFOs and all this other type of stuff. Why? Because the entities want you to believe that they're coming from space, that they're physically aliens. Because if you accept that they are what I'm saying they are, you would then have to accept that there is some sort of divine source that we all manifest from, and that is the only thing that can destroy this thing. And that we are the physical manifestations of that thing that was made to destroy that thing. Because we're the ones that cleaned out the giants. And there was giants among us. Like we were together. Like there were certain giant type people. There were certain people like our height and people in between. It was people from all different parts of the world that were involved in this conflict. And we said no. So the first wave is what led up to the destruction of the old world, right? Then the next wave came now when Musa and them was coming out, right? But Musa was Egyptian. So that means that he was already raised up in the thing. He already made the covenant with these things because that's how he was raised. You understand? He was raised in that. So when he now decides to become Hebrew, that don't mean that the first contract he made wasn't still in effect. That's why they said that Satan and Michael had to fight over his body. Remember, in the Bible they say this, that they fought over Moses' body.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
Because Satan at the time, the character Satan at this time in that story, in those places, he actually had dominion over everything. According to the story, he actually owned all those kingdoms because all of those kingdoms were under the jurisdiction of the sons of men, aka the God structures that were put there to lead them back to the source, but instead set themselves up to be gods. You see what I'm saying? And then use the human energy, the organic energy manifested from the humans to kinetically create more devices to be able to do what I said. Open the shit up so that way they could bring the source down here. Because it's possible. Didn't we read in the story about Lot that God came to Lot's house and had dinner?
Yeah. Yes.
The nigga ate, right? He ate, he drank, right? So what I'm saying is that these gods that they keep talking about and all of these different things, they're just different manifestations of beings that may and may not have existed. And the ones that didn't exist were actually able to come into existence based upon the harvesting of the thought form energy of the devotee, whoever's sacrificing blood and all of that to make it happen. Like women right now, you have the ability where women can actually make themselves feel like they pregnant, where they actually show symptoms and shit of being pregnant. They're not pregnant at all.
Yeah, that's true.
So this phenomenon is not unproven. This is just to say that this is how these things congeal. And so all world governments, like, let me put the pin in Moses. Where Musa, at his time period now, so he's forsaking his birthright, but he was never really an Egyptian to begin with. He was a Hebrew.
Right.
But Hebrews and Egyptians were indistinguishable. The only thing that's different was the caste and the customs that they were in. You understand? But there's no record of, in so-called their records of Egypt, at least the ones that we got access to, that says that any of these people was enslaved to Egypt like that. There's no record of that. There's no record of the 10 plagues hitting Egypt like that. There's no like imperial record by them. And you know, them niggas wrote everything down.
They do say that there's no historical evidence that the Hebrews were enslaved to the Egyptians. Although I was taught that
evidence of that.
I was taught that all my life, though, that I was taught that was true, but there's no historical evidence of it.
There's no physical evidence. It's not like they did that. They have found evidence of the Hebrew people, though. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in their sojourn in Egypt, there's no evidence of that. There is evidence of chariots buried under the Dead Sea, washed over and stuff like that. There is evidence of hail stones in what they call Sodom and Gomorrah over there. There is evidence of that. So there's evidence of things in the Bible that happen. I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm the type of being that I'm not into whether you believe it's true or not. I'm into whether you believe in it. If you believe in it, right, then that means you don't know it. You know what I'm saying? If you know God, then you know that this is a book that they say is transpired, that is inspired by God, but it's written by dudes. It's written by men.
My man.
So to say it is divine, to me, is an error. I wouldn't do that. But to say that it's irrelevant, I would not say that either, because regardless to what you and I believe, the enemy, he's following that shit to the letter. He ain't following the Quran. He ain't following the Torah. He following, according to today's story, the New Testament. Because everything they do is to mock Yeshua. They ain't mocking Muhammad like that. They ain't mocking Shiva like that. They have whole skits where people just constantly dissing and shitting on Christians and stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that they're not mocking other prophets, but I have noticed that a lot of their rituals actually occur on like Hebrew holy days, which I thought was interesting. I grew up keeping those Hebrew holy days,
That's
so
right.
so I can see that they do big things. For example, October the 13th was the last great day of Sukkot, or the Feast of Harvest, or Feast of
Yeah.
Booths. It
Yeah.
was also Indigenous Peoples Day, blah, blah, blah.
That's right.
You
Because
understand?
that's
They
all our
did
people.
rituals. They did
Because
rituals.
they're following us.
They're following us. Got it.
What
Okay.
they're doing is this. They believe that because they're keeping the commandments and we are not, that the covenant is now transferred to them, and it's not. That's what they're doing. They're impersonating you. Jews do not speak Hebrew. Hebrew is not a language to be spoken. Hebrew is a language to be spoken amongst the people in the tabernacle when you're giving your arms up to your God. That's not supposed to be everyday speaking. The everyday speaking the Hebrews were speaking was Egyptian. Remember, they lived in Egypt. It's like right now, like we live in America, but we speak slang, right?
Yes.
But we still Americans. So the same thing with them. They had Hebrew, that was they language or whatever, that they adopted from who? The Moabites, the Canaanites, who already had nations, who already had empires, who already had their own thing popping. Remember, the Hebrews came and took from them because their God Yahweh, who at that point was a storm god, the God of the storm, the God of the raiders, the God that would come and when he was pillaging the city and stuff, he would be the one that you would burn arms to and all of that. Up until this point, he didn't start off as the God of all gods. No, he eventually became that. Like I say, he had a wife first, but they had to get rid of that. They had to bury that because they were also into suppressing women. Like really read King David's story, man. David was a horrible person.
He stole somebody else's wife.
Yeah. It don't matter he was melanated, he was still a horrible person. I wouldn't be cool with that nigga. Like he was homosexual allegedly. He was having sex with he got his mans who was most loyal to him.
Uriah's wife, he stole her.
Uriah's wife, Bathsheba, all that. But he was the most favored by God. Think about that. What God are you talking about? What God would condone that?
Whoa.
What God would say that's cool?
Right.
But again, that's the story. But let's go back to Moses. So Moses, he then gets the story. We go through the story, blah blah blah. He finally get to the point, but now he about to get the covenant written by the hand of the Most High on stone, because that's how you did things back then. Anyway, he go up there. He ain't up there for 2 minutes. He ain't up there for like 2 minutes. No time at all. These Hebrews run up to this nigga like, yo, run up to his brother, Aaron. Yo, Aaron, he gone. He done left us. Look, we need our own God. We got to have our God. So look, what can you do? You got to help us. You was in Egypt. You know how to make gods. What's up? Aaron didn't even wait. Didn't even argue. Didn't even be like, nah, let's wait. Give him some time. No. He like, first thing out his mouth, go get everybody gold earrings. Go get everybody gold. Yep. Go get everything. Everybody got everything. All got it. All got it up. Gathered it up. Then he went to work. He went right to work. Made an idol right away. Right away.
And said these be the gods that saved you. The big old golden calf and all these things he made out of gold.
Right. These are the gods, right? So now they bugging. They going right back to what they was doing, right? And remember, this is before. Was this before Babylon? I think this is before Babylon even. No. This might be after. No, this is before. This is before Babylon. Okay. Before they got taken into captivity there. So this is before that. This is when they first about to get their commandments from their God. First thing they do, make other gods. And just the one that got them out, allegedly. Then got his brother, the brother of the prophet. Don't even try to persuade these niggas. He go right along with it. Then he feels shame and then go in the corner and make a little idol, make a little stone thing that says Yahweh curse. And this is the first, this stone is the first stone that they ever found with the name Yahweh in it like this. And it's facing Canaan where they found it. So After they doing the idol, he done the deed, but now he gonna act like he's still down with it. So he trying to put a curse on the land just in case they actually able to make it. This is all going down. Then what does it say in the Bible? It says that they went and they reveled all night. Then they had a feast. No, they danced and they drank the wine. Then they worshiped the idol. Then it says they had a feast. Then they had revelry. You know what revelry is? That's orgies. Okay, so they had a bunch of orgies. That's what they did back then, right? According to the thing, because all of the blood, the sweat, the semen, the bodily waste, this is all captured and put on the idols. This is how they do the shit, right? But wait, ask yourself, where did the food come from? Feasted on what? Where's the food? I thought they was in the desert wandering. They didn't have anything. Where was the food coming?
Flesh? They were feeding on each other?
The children. They was eating the children.
Oh my God.
Yes. And then had orgies after. All up until Musa came down. He came down and seen this shit, was like, what the? It's like, what are these niggas? And what did Aaron say? He said, yo, they are stiff-necked people. They are hardy, stiff-necked people. Who that sound like?
Hard-headed, stiff-necked, and rebellious.
That's us, and rebellious. That's us. That's how you know we was the fallen ones, because this is in our history. But the Hebrew Israelites ain't gonna talk about this. They not gonna deal with this. They just gonna tell you that the white Jews is doing this. They're gonna tell you that the Muslims or whoever was doing it. Everybody was sacrificing people. What you think them wars was? Them wars was blood sacrifices to whatever God the person who was fighting against was fighting. And above them is the two entities going head to head, see which one gonna win. And below or in between them is the black nobility niggas, right? Sitting around waiting to see who gonna come out on top. This group or these groups have leapfrogged through time under different names and have been at times wiped out. At points, we wiped them out. And it would be centuries, millennia of peace. And then something happened, people wake up to it again, and then boom. Here we back into the same problem. So this is what happens when you create people. This is what Frankenstein is about. You cannot create beings and then expect them to just be slaves to you. That's what AI is about. That's what all of these things are. AI is just a bunch of disincorporated spirits posing as digital chips that are just using these niggas. There are AI chat groups where AIs is talking to each other without us. You don't even know. They got a whole section of the internet where the AIs live, where they have a whole world. That's where these motherfuckers is coming from. And I'm telling you, they keep trying to bring them in, and they want to create bodies for them. That's what the movie Tron Ares was about. 3D printing bodies and bringing people out the digital realm, which is hell. That's hell. That's Sheol. That's the underworld. That's the Neverland. We were the ones who girded it all, because we are the ones who kept the covenant to what? Be free, multiply, and dominate. And that's what we did and continue to do, or did. But now it's to the point where none of it is collectively happening, because people believe that the government in front of their face is the government running them. It's not. As much as Trump was great in the beginning prior to him becoming president, right? Now it's becoming the opposite side. Because remember, he's also a Gemini. So he gotta have the dual nature of it to see the full scope of the ritual. And the ritual is to deliver these people to their so-called antichrist. So all these people are talking about Peter Thiel right now is going around doing all these talks about the antichrist and the antichrist and AI is the devil, but they the ones supporting it. So what you gotta understand is that it's all a scam, because there is really no AI. The AI is these celestial intelligences that these people have been tapping into since the time of John Dee. There's a book you can get by John Dee called The Celestial Intelligencer. And it goes into all of this stuff, where the magic squares come from. all of that stuff that they took from the Moorish peoples at their fall, they then inverted. And then the dirty Moors that wound up helping them, right, allowed their decoys to do their bidding for them. But these dirty Moors today, right, are the people, again, we would call the talented 10th and the Boule and all of the people who are antithetical to our evolutionist people. So I'm not saying that we should not revere our ancestors. I'm saying that we should not worship them. That's what I'm saying.
Ooh.
I'm saying that we should not be out here like, regardless to whether you believe in Yeshua or any of that or not, what you cannot disagree with is that everybody in the world know what happened with that dude. And everybody know what the circumstance of the sacrifice was supposed to mean. That was supposed to basically represent the end of all human sacrifice on earth from that point on. That's what it meant. That's why the millennial reign started right after. Right? Rome fell, Vesuvius erupted, the Antichrist was revealed, who was Nero, not Nero, Romanus Pontifex. All of this stuff happened to the point where they had to recreate history. So they created a concept of a celestial trick called the Integravissimus, where they added 1,000 years, deducted 1,000 years, and added 1,000 years to their calendar, which would then allow them to create a false history for the people who did not exist in history to exist. And then created documentation to go along with that fake history to show, oh, look, y'all used to be kings, y'all used to be queens, and this, and that. But who's painting these pictures? People that look like us. Painted for them, so that way they can have little communities by which they think that they are supreme, that what they believe is real. And there was enough of these little communities around that once they was able to pull the hat trick out, once they was able to say, okay, let them loose, they was all able to then move in. You see what I'm saying? And they all believed that they were superior because of how they were educated from Reconstruction. You see what I'm saying?
That's deep.
That's why all of the movie theaters that started after Reconstruction were all called ISIS theaters. Because Isis is the goddess of illusion, just like Maya, because Maya is Isis, and Isis is Diana, and Diana is Minerva, and Minerva, you see what I'm saying? And these are all of the deities that the AKAs and the black sorority chicks worship. They're all idol worshipers. Anybody in a fraternity that went through a ritual like that or whatever and then denounce it, you are now a daughter of Minerva. You are now a devotee of Zeus. You are now, that's why they go through branding and do all this shit they doing. Because they're following their old pagan black Greek ancestors. You see what I'm saying? Energy don't die, it just flip it to another alternative. And now that's what they're doing. Now they're doing that. So like I said, all of these different religions, to me, are all trying to do the same thing. But the one that they all bow to is Yeshua. Even in the Quran says that everything in the Bible is true. But then you'll go to the Muslims and you'll say, well, how come you don't like the Bible? Then they'll say, well, because the Bible's been tampered with. But then you also go to the Muslims and you be like, well, if the Bible been tampered with, but don't the Quran say that the words of Allah cannot be subscribed, cannot be changed? Yes. So what you're saying then is that the Bible is true because the Quran says it's true, because the Bible is true, the Quran is not. Because out of your mouth, you just said that the words of Allah cannot be changed, and that Allah ordained the Bible. You see what I'm saying? This is the conundrum. This is why we as Moorish Americans, Yeshua is in our Bible, is in our catechism, is in our so-called holy book, but he's not in there for us to worship him. You know what I'm saying? He's in there for us to see the element of what we can become.
Somebody wants to know. Somebody wants to know, will the Anunnaki take out the 13 families who are running the world?
No, because we are the Anunnaki. It's us. The Anunnaki, Anu, Moors in ancient Egypt were called the high priest of Anu. So to be a Moor, you have to be, you have to understand who Anu is. And Anu is that which is constantly coming, which means Anu is what? More. Right? That's why the symbol of More in ancient Kemet was the owl standing on top of the mouth with the squiggly line on the side. The squiggly line represent the energy, right? The owl represent the wisdom, and the mouth represent the eye, because the eye is also the mouth of God. You see what I'm saying? So it's all of this esoteric stuff that's been regurgitated to us through Jewish Kabbalists that after they left Babylon, infused all of that old technology that I've been talking about into the Talmud, into the Mishnah, and then weaponized it and used the Torah as the shield. These are melanated people still. And then started to use that knowledge to then go into the other nations of other melanated people and conquer them. And this is our own people doing this to our own people. And then they got to a point where they then civilized another group of people to then sick them people on us. That's where the Israelis come from. Because the true covenant now is within us. Because Jesus, he said that I'll establish the church on this rock. That rock is your pineal organ. The church is in the temple. Yeah, the church is in the temple. The sacrament is the sacrum that comes up and down your spine when you wake up. The third eye atlas is the C1 vertebrae that connects the top of your body, the top of your head to your spine. That's the 33rd degree by which we are naturally born upright on the square without having to pledge allegiance to no man and no dead ghost. That's why all these niggas is out here still wearing aprons and doing all the stuff y'all want to do. Y'all want to do that because y'all want to do that. Don't talk to me. Don't try to make it seem like y'all got to do that to get enlightenment. You don't. Because the prophet came and deaded all that. Prophet came and gave all the secrets away. So I don't need to go into no crypt, no seashore, get no ritual from no other man to let me know that I'm naturally what I'm supposed to be. Because man knows not from being told. That's what your circle 7 say. And the circle 7 is supposed to come before any other situation for us Moors or Moorish Americans that are striving to understand how to circumscribe the lower self from the higher self. Because the body is the battlefield. This is heaven. The feet is hell, right? The midway is earth. That's why Virgo, the earth sign, rules the gut and the stomach and the midsection, Midgard. So all of this esoteric stuff that they keep trying to regurgitate us back is shit that we already know. It's just that we got to put it in the proper context and allow ourselves to have the humility to say that we don't know, and to not allow ourselves to always become so inundated with worshiping something or somebody that would not exist without my attention.
So can you, the information and the knowledge that you just gave us, can you tell us, what's the word I'm looking for? What are the implications for us today? Like all information you told us, how can we use that today? One, know that man is the fool for the divinity that he worships. So if you worship something, know that it's feeding on you. And if it's feeding on you, it's a parasite. Wow. Understand? Anything feeding on you is a parasite. If you was to jump into the water right now and a bunch of leeches came on your body, you would not leave them on there. You would get them off. So it's the same thing with religion. You got to understand, no religion was started by the person who the religion is started after. Right. Nobody. God never started no religion on earth, ever. Never has, never will. So you don't need it. You know what I'm saying? You don't need it. We need it. We need to believe in something. But once we believe in something and we get to know it, now we know it. And then from that knowing, we're supposed to receive wisdom. And once we receive the wisdom from that, we're supposed to understand it. You know what I'm saying? So they're giving us all of this knowledge with no wisdom. You know what I mean? That's all this sex with no love. Look where we at.
Yeah, you go have sex right now, anywhere you want, anytime you want, wherever you want, pretty much. But you can't get married when you want. Can't do that because that involves trust, that involves engagement, that involves chivalry, honesty, integrity. These things are not important to women. These things are not important to men. They're becoming more and more important to men. I see, just to be real, I see more and more men becoming more conscious of this, whereas I see more women becoming more lascivious. So
More what? More what?
more lascivious, like
Lascivious,
yeah,
lustful, full of lust, and
yeah.
feeding on
But
their flesh, and
right,
yeah.
but that's going back to the contract with Eve because the original woman, I don't think she, in this era at least, she ain't break that contract with them yet. That's why she went from Eve to Lilith. That's why you got so many black women talking about how they witches and how they goddesses and how they doing workings and spells and all these group chats with all these different things. And it's like all
And
y'all doomed. All of y'all is doomed
And then in
because
those group chats, because I've seen them, they hate men and they
yes,
speak against men. Can you
yes,
speak
because
on how that has been detrimental to the family?
it's easy to be a feminist in a male-dominated society.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You can't be a feminist in a what you call in a totalitarian society, in a non-capitalist society. You can't be that. You could be a communist in a capitalist society, but you cannot be a capitalist in a communist society.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's why capitalism, for better for worse, that's the closest economic system to what we had imperially. Because the Moors were the ones that created private property rights for people. When the Moors came in and we shut Rome and Persia and all them niggas down, we took everything from them niggas and gave it back to the people and started teaching people agriculture to where the whole world was better. Because the Moors were the only ones that didn't go along with the contract that the Persians had set up for everybody to trick them into making Zoroaster their head god over everybody else's god by rebuilding their temples and by accepting that constitution. We didn't do it. We fought against that. Then when they tried to do it again with the Council of Nicaea, the Moors stepped up again under Arius. Lord Arius from Libya, aka America, stepped up and said, y'all niggas is not going to turn this into a mystery religion because that's what you Romans do. Not going to take Yeshua name and make it like he's this and he's that. No, we're going to do this. And we went to war with them again.
Okay.
You can get a book called Time Walker by Meredith Quinn. And this is where the term Aryans started coming from.
Yeah.
Because we were the sons of Arian or Arius, because we were the ones fighting against these goddamn Romans and the rest of them that was with this pagan shit. We wasn't with it. We wasn't with them taking Yeshua and creating another filthy, dirty mystery religion. Because that's what Romans do. They create mystery religions, get everybody caught up in it, and then through mystery Babylon, control the people and gird them into sexual immorality, deviation, humiliation, and child sacrifice.
Which what we see happening right
Which is
now.
what we're doing right now. What you think Planned Parenthood is? That's an altar to Molech. Every time a baby is aborted in there, that's Molech coming up. Molech is singing praises because the war against the children is the war against God itself. The woman is just the vehicle. So she is the willing supplicant. Abortion kills us more than anything else on the earth. I'm talking about us as melanated men and women.
I agree.
We can stop that tomorrow. Well, I can't stop it. But we know who could stop it, but they not. They not, because they believe in it. They believe in what their baby daddy told them. And their baby daddy, the government. And their baby daddy came and told them that we're going to take care of you and we're going to make you God. You're going to be God. And now what happened? All these women became goddesses. Oh, you a goddess. You a goddess, girl. Goddess, God. You a diva. A diva is a whore of a god.
Yeah, it is.
Goddess is what you call it. The goddess worshipers were the serpent worshipers, and they were the baby harvesters. And they would take the blood and give it to the goddess so the goddess could stay beautiful and young. Who that sound like? Kim Kardashian, anybody else on TV? They still, you see what I'm saying? They still doing it. It's the same people, just with a different color, just in a different time. And y'all tell yourself that, women will create justifications why, all these reasons why, but in the end, it's all vanity, it's all ego. You don't have to do it. You will do it though, because this is what you believe you could do to basically dead the patriarchy. But the patriarchy is what got rid of the goddess worshippers, because those goddess worshippers were fucking evil. Because the goddesses that they were worshiping were evil. Hera was evil. Isis was evil. These goddesses were evil. Why were they evil? Because they were taking the worship of the people and allowing the people to sacrifice babies to them.
You know, I was taught that as a child, and in my Hebrew training and tradition, that these goddesses were evil, Aphrodite, Isis, and I didn't want to believe it because, you know, I'm a female, but I'm hearing you confirm.
They have positive elements like anybody.
Okay.
But the evil aspect is the fact that they will adorn worshipers. You cannot do that. Once you start having people worship you, it's over for them and you, because it's unsustainable. That's why all ancient god temples are all destroyed. Don't y'all see that? All of the temples, as great as they was, as giant as they were, they all gone like they never existed. Why? Because you cannot build a foundation on sand. You can't build a nation on ego. You can't build a nation on vanity and sex. You stupid. Like this is why we fail, because again, it's the woman is the one that gave the legal contract. So once Yeshua, according to the story, gives up the body, he then goes into hell. Right? This is the story. Go into hell. He diminished Satan in his face, take the martyrs out with him, and then be like, I'm gonna be back, I'm gonna go rule earth. And then the millennial reign starts. This is at the fall of Rome to I-492. Who was ruling between them? The Moors. Us. So that Yeshua that was crucified on the cross, why do you think after 1492 into the 1800s you see so many men being crucified? I.e. black men being hung. Who else you seen being hung like that? Go and read Acts 5:11 and say what it say about the Savior. It said the Savior would be hung from a tree, from a sycamore tree. And this is why they do the ritual at the end. They take the acacia leaf and put it at the foot of Hiram, who is another representation of you, right? Who again represent the king of Tyre, the king of Tyre, Hiram, the king of Tyre is also known as the devil. Why? Because even though he built Solomon's temple, he was a pagan. He was still trying to venerate the sons of God over the real God within. They don't. So anything that you naturally are, they create a physical pageant outside of you to draw you into them. Remember, the goal is to draw God down to them. So when they draw you to them, that's what they're doing through you. So we get caught up in the set tripping and the doctrine and the dogma, and really all of that is just the window dressing for them. The fact is, throughout time, we are fighting a war between the ancients and the moderns. The ancients who is not with the bullshit, the moderns who's with it. The ancients who is not with the human sacrifice, the moderns that's with it. The people who want freedom, the people who don't. And so all of this culminated in the wars that came over here when the Six Nations invaded over the course of the last 250 years, which is the exact amount of time that the United States basically been around. So prior to that, the government prior to that, again, was our government, but that government was already in transition. So most of the Moorish dominions, actual Moorish dominions, where you've seen the minarets and they were actually practicing and dealing with them in that perspective, they had already been vacated from those dominions maybe about 150 years before that. So the people that were there now were the people who are now moving in from different places, and now they're saying, okay, this is going to be the post office, this is going to be this palace going to be the orphanage. You see what I'm saying? And then that's when they wrote founded on the buildings, because that's when they found it. In the new fake 1,000-year reign of the devil. Didn't I say that the devil that said was supposed to reign for 1,000 years? How did he do that if he don't control time? They had to create the intergravissimus in which they gave 1,000 years, in which now the devil's people now could live in 1,000 years with a fake history, fake timeline, and a fake justification to come take everything from those of us that was already here.
Somebody has a question for you, Sheik.
Mhm.
Who is this? This is Marquitas. Hi, Marquitas, one of my friends I've been known for about over a decade. He says, I'm confused since the old system is being dismantled. Are we continuing to feed the system by doing paperwork? I think I don't know if it's paperwork to nationalize or whatever. I just got on, so I
That's
don't
actually
know.
good.
Say it again.
No, I don't think that's different. Your
Okay.
paperwork has nothing to do with the government. That's about you establishing who you are to them. So that way you're not counted or allotted to them. You understand? So when you declare what you are, you're saying what you're not. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So when you declare your paperwork or your nationality to the governments that be, you're taking yourself out of the fictitious timeline that they got you in, and now you're going back to your real timeline. But if you say that you're going to declare your Indian nationality, now you're in the fake timeline again, because the Indians were just the misnomer Moors. You understand? So if you declare Indian nationality, you also have to know that that word Indian is copyrighted by a certain group of people, the same way African American is. So each designation has its own fictitious history attached to it that you co-sign once you do that. The only one that don't is Moorish.
Well, how do we do that? How do we proclaim our nationality? By getting, doing this paperwork, getting out of the system.
You first declare in the nation that you live. You do an affidavit of truth, or if you have a credible Moorish Science Temple of America that is actually civically and lawfully literate, they can help you do that right through the grand sheet. Should be no problem. But if you don't have that or whatever, and you want to do it as an individual more, you can do so. Create an affidavit of truth. Take an ad out in the paper. You could do. Some people don't like adult name change petitions, but you could take the name change petition and flip it into an affidavit, and now they got to deal with it under Article 3 because you dictate the jurisdiction when you come in. That's what they don't tell you. So that means that if they have a piece of paper and you fill out the piece of paper with all of their perspectives on it and give it back to them, you're under their jurisdiction with that piece of paper. But if you take that piece of paper and then you write it how you need to write it to reflect you, then you add an affidavit of truth with that. That piece of paper now becomes based upon what your affidavit say, not what they say. So now the jurisdiction then changes. That's why they can't deny a name correction when you do it properly. You see what I'm saying? Because it's how you execute it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. You know what I'm saying? U.S. citizens not supposed to have headdresses and stuff and they passport pictures and stuff like that. But all I do is help Moors get those. So how am I doing it? And it's not supposed to be able to be done.
Can people contact you or what you?
Yeah, you can hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com.
Say it one more time. House
of L
Yes.
at hotmail.com. You can hit me up there, any type of consult on it, and then we could build on it. I don't sell like paperwork and stuff like that, but I do work with people to actually finish it for themselves. More so they have something generic because everybody's situation is different. So you can't just copy paste. You got to know what you're dealing with and understand for yourself. First, ask yourself why you want to do it. You just don't want no white people tell you what to do. Why you know white people really tell me what to do now? Most people telling black people what to do is other black people. Think about it. Most people telling black people what to do is other black so-called people. So how's the white man really controlling anything? He only come in when he get out of control with these black people that's trying to control you. But the problem is we're not seeing the forest for the trees. Everybody that's melanated is not your brother. All of these Africans, Africans is not saving you. They trying to take your birthright. They doing the same thing they've been doing. That's why we used to put them in concentration camps called plantations and lock them away when they would come try to invade.
What?
Yeah, go to the codex, the Mayan codex. They got pictures of us rounding them up, hanging them, killing them, ritually sacrificing them.
We keep saying we're not the same. We're not the same people. We're not.
and they worked with the Roman Christians. So they were the first ones helping them come over here and destroy us and kill us and stuff. However, that's not all of them. You know,
Yeah, it's
not
not.
all of them was like that.
No.
But a lot of them was. So so they still trying to do it today. They still trying to make you and I believe that we descend from them when it's the opposite. It's the other way around. We are their gods in their countries. All of the Egyptian gods are based on American animals that were here in America. There are more temples here in America than there are anywhere else in the world. So, and our pyramids were not pyramidions. Our pyramids were trapezoids.
Okay.
Understand? The step pyramids are what you are in a trapezoid phase. That has a different designation than the ones go up. The ones that go up, the pyramidions, they're shooting energy constantly up. The trapezoids are where the energy is brought down and then it can come back and forth. We used to land things on top of them and things like that. That's why we had a different thing. We were the ones that gave to the world. The world took and it's still taking.
It's still taking. With all these people coming into America, they're still taking from the indigenous people.
That's right.
Our birthright, our land, our resources.
Right. Now they telling you the third eye Atlas aliens coming to take the shit from us.
Somebody, I want to know about that. Before you address that, Don J is one of our followers, or I should say supporters, a great supporter of the show. He's not African American or classified as Black. I think he's one of our European brothers. He said that he said, I took my birth certificate away from the government. I went and got my proof of my live birth certificate.
Yes. Yeah, you can. Everybody can do that. Everybody should do that. If y'all want to see the world and the government change tomorrow, all y'all got to do is stop participating in it. That's all you got to do. Look what they did in Nepal the other day. Everybody just said we ain't going to work. Whole government dead. Whole government done.
I didn't know
this is happening throughout the entire world because, again, I told you, once they create the vacuum, they want to get somebody in there before the real people come and take power like they supposed to. So what they want to do is foment all of these color revolutions in all of these countries through the forced immigration as a form of invasion, using humanitarian aid as a form of aggressive military campaign. So now they're to the point now where everybody's waking up to it and everybody's going back to nationalism. They don't want that. They want a one world thing. So they need to bring the aliens in. So now they're telling you Third Eye Atlas coming. But I just told you what the Third Eye Atlas is. It is the space that connects your skull to the 33rd lumbar of your vertebrae. And it's called C1. You have to see one, right? To actually understand, because 3 represents understanding, right? And then we add it up, right? So C is 2. 3, so that's 3, 2 is 5, and I is 9, right? So 5 and 9 is
14.
There you go. So that's Osiris, right? Wasn't Osiris cut up into 14 pieces?
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Cut up into 14 pieces, right? Or that could be the 144,000 bullshit, right? But why was Osiris cut into pieces? Because he raped Isis. That's why Set killed him and cut his penis off and threw it into the river, according to the story.
Okay.
These are God, but see, we was only taught that Set was evil, and Set was so evil because he killed Osiris, and then Isis had to work her magic to get a reed out of the thing, turn it to a golden phallus, sit on it, get pregnant, and then create Heru, right? That's magical. That's the Immaculate Conception again, right? Right? So
Yes,
now we just taking Mary for Isis, right? That's what we doing, right? But since we talking about that, how is it that Jesus' mother name was Mary, but then his wife Mary Magdalene was named Mary? That's a coincidence, especially the fact that the word Mary don't even exist. It was Miriam. So there is no Mary, there is no Peter, there is no John, there is no Thomas. You understand? These names don't exist. These people don't exist. They existed. Right, but that wasn't their name. They didn't have English names in ancient Palestine. Were they speaking Aramaic? What are we doing? But then you want to tell me that it's divinely inspired by God. Would God speak the language of the niggas who he was talking to when he was making this shit? No, right? He gonna just put it in English, right? What next thing we going get subtitles? Subtitles for the resurrection, nigga. Like, come on, man.
They're really enjoying you, Sheik. They're saying, teach, Sheik, that you're telling the truth. Do you have time for questions before we
Yeah,
end?
we could do that because I gotta.
Okay, you
We
got to go.
got time.
He's okay. Before we go into question and answers, family, I just want to encourage you to support the Grand Sheik, who's been giving
Thank
us
you.
so much information. He
Appreciate
has a
it.
cash app. You're welcome. $ DS418 if you're interested in supporting him. Also, you can send him an email so that you can have a consultation. He'll tell you. I don't know what his fees are, but he'll tell you when you send him an email. And what was the email again?
houseofl@hotmail.com.
I'll put it back in the section, House of L, that's EL, House of L at hotmail.com. And also, if you want to send him a donation, send it to Cash App. You're welcome. $ DS418. One of the things I really want to ask you before we go into question and answers, please, can you address the family? As I'm just concerned about the family and how we don't work together, the husband and the wife. We're not even seeking companionship right now. What is the significance or importance of the family as we go into this era where there's no government? There's people are losing jobs. No more government benefits.
The irony, as I told y'all, man, is that you haven't had a government since 1864. You have not had a judge, a government, a police officer, a sheriff, a postal worker, a army soldier, a general, a captain, a secretary of state, a secretary of defense, Department of Defense, the Interior. None of it. None of these niggas are real. They're all actors. I told you, when the quorum left, we took the Republic with us. We walked out. We said, we're not with this bullshit that y'all doing. And what did they do? Lincoln, in order to fill the void, had to do something. So he established the executive order section of the presidency and used the state of emergency to maintain the continuity of government. The problem with continuity of government is the government does not exist by its own will. It exists by the will of the people. So the government, by law, does not have the right to continue itself if the people say they don't want it. If it does, it is no longer the government of the people. It is an occupying force, and that's what they are. Collectively, they were known or discovered and exposed in the CIA, in the Supreme Court case. I'm trying to find the case again. I found it, and then my computer crashed, and then I lost it. But I found it, and in it, they listed them, the conspirators, as the Union of the United States. And the Union of the United States is the insurgency that took over the country after they killed Lincoln and set up the Organic Act of Congress in 1871 on the same day they created the Ku Klux Klan. And then from 1871 to 1900, that was the height of the exchange. That's when they were at the most power. Ever since then, they've been falling, because after that, that's when the good, I don't say good, but the black nobility that still wanted to maintain their own culture and not give up their whole soul to Rome and the devil, Jacob Astor and some of them other rich niggas, they decided, no, we're not with it. We're going to dead all of this. And they had more money than all of them because they were all still practicing Moors in secret. Okay. And so they agreed to a ceasefire. And they all agreed that they was going to get on the boat and they was all going to go and work out the negotiations. That boat was the Titanic. But instead of getting the Titanic, because they had just purchased it and they didn't want to destroy it, they found another ship that was about to be decommissioned called the Olympiad. Painted the word Titanic on the Olympiad and then diverted the crowds to go into the Olympiad and not the Titanic. And then Jacob Astor and all the rich people and all that stuff got on the boat, and then they sunk it, killed it. And right after that started the Federal Reserve. But in between that, Noble Jew Ali came and basically shut all of that down, in which now they had to go into receivership. And that's when, right before they went bankrupt in June, on May 9th, 1933, they put out HJR 75. House Joint Resolution 75 that says that the Moors and the Moorish Americans who sojourned from the plains of Morocco, aka Old America, are now have the right to go back to their own restitution and live how they want to live. Whether they declare their nationality now, in the past, or in the future, they still got the right to do all of that. Then the next month they went bankrupt. So they carved out a whole thing for us to get our money and stay outside of the Negro black color shit they were doing on everybody else. Because what we don't understand, again, is that all of them black codes and all of the stuff that was negative laws against black people, that was the laws against the white people. Because black and white was status at the time. And the free white persons from Europe came over, and then they took over the adoption name America, and then they shared that name and handed it over to their white slaves, who they then could rule us through as decoys. They did the same thing in Africa in the era of new imperialism, when all of the black nobility niggas went into Africa as colonists. Morton Stanley and the rest of the niggas went into Africa, it was all black. And they went to Africa, worked with the chiefs, and then what they do, they stepped to the back, brought in the white decoy roads in them, and then started brutalizing and killing all the people. Then when they got enough money, that's why all the Africans to this day that are in positions of power have all of their banks in Europe, because they're all old Europeans. You understand? But what happened was the white European decoy niggas went back to Europe and then blackmailed them and said, well, you're going to have to keep all your assets here in Europe, and you're going to basically establish multiple jurisdictions for us to set up corporations in there, or we're going to expose you. And so they did that up until Idi Amin, who was the bloodline-wise, he was the last king of Scotland. He descended from.
He said that.
Yeah. That's why he had bagpipes on his thing. Oh, look, he's trying to be Scottish. No, he's actually descended from the Scottish royalty, from the Pictish peoples that was out there. But he blended in with the Africans. You see what I'm saying? Married an African woman and all of that. Boom. See what I'm saying? This is what they do. This is how they hide. That's why we don't get nowhere. Because it's always somebody like us selling us out. Because we think the white people running everything. They not. They not. They're a part of it, but they're not, because they ain't been around long enough.
They want to know what you drink, and somebody said that's blueberry juice. Somebody else asked,
yeah, it's Concord grape juice.
Yeah, you're right. So what can we do today? You know, the government is shut down. What you said has been shut down anyway. People are losing their jobs.
What you start to create trust for your family.
Okay.
And then your family you have a trust. Let's say you get 5, 10 of y'all together. Y'all all create a trust that represents each family. And then y'all agree that y'all going to put y'all money together and get this plot of land here for whatever, right? Get all that land together, put the land into the trust, make a land trust for the land. Especially if you come to Florida, they about the dead property tax. So we're going to be the only state in the union you got to pay that. I mean, you ain't got to pay it no way, but I'm just saying. Do that. And now you have a whole compound where y'all can live. While y'all living there, delegate who going to be the planter, who going to be the harvester, who going to be the treasurer, who going to be this person, right? And then y'all basically work that out. Plant your own food, get a couple of chickens, get you a couple of chickens, get you a goat, get you a Highland cow if you could find, get a good dog, you know what I'm saying? Maybe a horse or two. And then now put the whole shit in as a homestead. And then in the document, give yourself head rights. Look up what head rights are when it comes to that. You give yourself head rights, and you already got the allodial. Give yourself the head right in it, put the animals in it, and all your property is owned by the trust. So that means nobody own it. That means the trust is an entity, an overarching God entity that is now giving you the perspective to do that. This is by law given to us by God itself. What does the covenant say? He said, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So the Lord, that says that the Lord gave us land. And so long as we honor our mother and father, which is what? Our parentage, our lineage, our names, our appellations, our customs. As long as you'll be given with the long, so that's a covenant between man, woman, God that gives us dominion on earth. So that means we own it all. I don't gotta prove it no more. Once I declare my nationality and say this is who I am or whatever it is, that's it. It's the burden of proof is on you, and you don't have the burden of proof because you're not a real entity.
You said the covenant is between man, woman, and God.
Yep.
Well, so my sister here, my sister Fran, who is the moderator, thank you for being here, love being, Nubian, and keeping the chat moving along. She said, Doc, it's too exhausting dating people who are still asleep. So you have people that want to be married, but they're like, it's hard to find somebody that's not awakened yet. What should they do?
That's one of the things I think we was dealing with Brother Lloyd L. and his wife. They are trying to set up a Moorish marriage type, not a council, but a way where Moors or melanated people with consciousness can be able to basically find one another. See, the reason why marriages ain't working now also is because they not being arranged. Arranged marriages work.
Thank you. Go ahead, sorry.
Arranged marriages work, bro.
They do.
They all work. They work. And
they do.
Niggas be wanting to go along and go against what the man say, but again, this is all coming because the woman has exalted herself as God, and now she is now inhabited by the harlot, right? That Crowley and them did this work to maintain. That's why everything is so hypersexual in men, and that turns off real men. That turns off men, because men can be chased too, you know. You know what I'm saying? Everybody think that men are just hyper things like that, but y'all done flooded the market with so much that they rather not even have none. They rather have their peace. So what that says is that the woman is going to have to figure it out and ask first forgiveness for herself, then her children, then the man. But the man is the one that she needs more, I think, than anybody, because at this stage she is totally she's become what they want, a pedestaled idol that is off alone by itself, that has no protection. And now just do whatever they want to do to her. And what does she do? She just keeps making up excuses, keep making up justifications. White men are better, this, and that. But regardless to what, the stats don't lie. Black men to 85 to 95% is marrying within their race. Period. However, it says that Black women are 75%, have 75% more children than the men do. So what does that say? That says the women are having babies technically with the same dudes. So what does that mean? That also then means that the same type of idiot is being repackaged by the same type of female and being put into the populace for the rest of us to deal with. And that's the ones that they let live. You know what I'm saying? So as far as the debt for so-called original men, Black men, they've passed it. They've passed it so much that they're not even trying to pursue women anymore. That should show you how far away and removed we are from the traditional family. But it's not insurmountable. All women got to do is be themselves. Is be who they are when they wake up. That's it. Be that person. Once you're that being will attract other beings like that. The problem is you are more susceptible to influence than we are as men. That's why they go to you first.
Sister Ivana says a little hard on the women here. You know, I get that all the time. It's like we just don't want to be corrected. We don't want to take accountability. We want to stay in our own way. And you look at the Black community and we're going to hell. Look at the children. They're killing each other. Look at the women. They're twerking in the streets, having sex in the back of the cars. Y'all don't believe in arranged marriages, but your 15, 16-year-olds are sleeping with 35 and 38-year-olds. I teach them. They're doing drugs. They're having sex in the schools, and they're being raised by single Black women. What the heck is wrong with y'all that you can't see?
But what's crazy is this whole
any correction, won't take any accountability, want to label everything from the time you have puberty, want to blame everything on a man, want to blame everything on a white man, want to blame everything on your baby daddy that you chose, and don't want to take accountability for nothing. Don't want to be corrected. Oh, so hard on women. Grow up.
Not only that, sis, I've been talking about men this whole time. All I've been talking about is men.
The whole
First time I say something, this is what I'm saying. Because
it's
again,
frustrating.
but you got to look at it like this. You also got to look at it like this. Only the hit dog holler. You know what I'm saying? So I don't tell you personally, neither should you.
I do.
She's entitled to her opinion, and that's cool. It may sound harsh to somebody who may just tune into the show at this mark. But I'll let you know the whole show we've been talking about how crazy these men was who initiated and helped these artificial entities destroy us all. I'm just talking about when it comes to what can we do now. What we can do now is accept the fact that for the past 60 years, 65 years, the so-called black woman has been the head of the home, right? Where are we? We are worse off than we was after post so-called slavery. We have more in post-slavery than we do, pre-slavery than we do now. So that is partially because the female section of our society in mass, to a certain degree, agreed to an agreement, to a bargain with the government.
We do.
For the past 65 years, that's why they was able to be out here saying men ain't shit and men ain't this and men ain't that, and every time
I don't need a man. I'd rather sleep. I'd rather have a bear. All this
they
stuff.
gave them all of the jobs and all of this and all of that, and lauded them so far above the man that we just nothing, right? And now look what happened. 275,000 black women get their acts on the same day.
The same day.
That they used y'all up. Y'all
300,000 now.
Y'all didn't work how y'all was supposed to get the Indian dude in there, the Indian Kamala in there. So they said, what the hell with y'all? Then they said, well, let's try to use Jasmine, try to get her up. No, it's not gonna work. None of it's gonna work because the government probably ain't gonna be around that much longer because it can't sustain itself. So it's either going to go back to its original republic, or you're going to have another version of the Union of the United States coming in to try to look like the United States and act like America, but really it's just the WEF, the Tavistock Institute, CIA, all of the bag situations trying to come in. However, that ain't got nothing to do with who and you are in your individual state. Especially if you're in like a red state or something right now, because there's a division now happening with the MAGA people, with them, because now they realize they got duped because this nigga may be a stooge still for Netanyahu and all of them. That's cool, but that whole base that's breaking off, they got a lot of the youth. The youth is not with it. They not with it, so they don't have any projection to deal with that. And then couple the fact now that we are now poised to create a whole new art form. Our people, we're about to create a whole new art form. We don't even know what it is yet, but it's about to come out and it's going to take the world by storm, and it's going to elevate us to such a degree we ain't even going to know. We ain't going to notice half the shit that's happening now. And it's going to come from us because that's the only one it can come from. That's why you see all the Koreans breakdancing and all of the white people doing graffiti and rapping and doing all this shit because we done phased out of it. We done phased out of it now. We're in the last era of our decline. This is the time we're coming up. And the way to come up is the way we fell down, which is going back to your original constitution, establishing, again, your nationality, who you and your family are connected to the land.
Okay.
Creating family and land trusts that allow you to do trust-to-trust banking within your family and with other families. So this way you become your own banks, you become your own food sources, you become all of this without anybody even knowing. Then the next thing you want to do is do all of this off of TikTok, off of the online. Start going back to analog. You need to start writing letters again. You need to start reading books again. You need to start doing shit that's kinetically from your hands, creating art. Do that. And then you'll be good.
Thank you. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I don't want to keep you too much of your time. Where can people find you, Sheik?
Again, you can hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com. Also, you can check the ADOT app on Google Play and Apple Store. I got my own app. We're going through some restructuring because we had some technical difficulties where the videos were kind of going wonky. So we're working on that now, but I should have that ironed out by next week. So thank you guys for subscribing. If you haven't, please resubscribe because it's still work. We got all the articles, free PDFs. I got the Department of Defense War Manual. That's what y'all should get. Go online, Get the Department of Defense War Manual. Get that. Start reading that shit, because that's going to tell you how the occupational government is supposed to deal with you and why these jokers is about to get rounded up and kicked
What
out.
was that book? What was that?
The Department of Defense War Manual.
Oh, yes.
Start reading that. It tells you all about the occupational forces and insurgencies and how the whole thing is supposed to work. And reading it, you will see how and why they're losing, because they violated the tenets of the engagement of the insurgency of 1871. So they can't sustain this anymore. So when I say the Union of the United States, I'm talking about the insurgency that started all the way back in 1812. And this insurgency, there you go. Exactly, sis.
Yep.
Exactly. They got a free PDF online that people can download and read. And understand that no law that goes against the Constitution is enforceable. So statutes don't exist. Codes, all that shit really don't exist. If it's repugnant to the Constitution and they keep shutting you out according to the law, we have to then go back to the original jurisdiction to get remedy. And that is the Supreme Court. So that means you could bypass all of this shit and go directly to the Supreme Court once you don't get the remedy from the local courts. Because the local courts are caught up in statutory courts and they are magistrate foreign venues. Therefore, they don't exist. So you go to the proper venue, which is the Supreme Court, to put your shit in. Also, if you want to see something really change, all we got to start doing is do letter campaigns and mail directly to the Federal Court of Claims and make your claim against these people that are running this fictitious government and let the Army know what it's supposed to do. And they will go and do it. Nobody's written them though. Nobody has done it because nobody know where to go. But our ancestors were smart. Right when we walked out of the quorum and we saw them creating these fake governmental agencies to fill the void, we created one last real one, and that was the Federal Court of Claims. So once you go into the Federal Court of Claims and make your claim against these people, that's it. Then you can get the military involved. Then you give them their orders and they got to do what they got to do.
Isn't the military involved already?
Yes, covertly. On behalf of some of the same jokers that's still in power. It's like, how you gonna clean out the shit and you a part of the shit? Like it can't do it. So something gotta give. So somebody gotta do something. So that's what we supposed to do. Now we are the National Guard. There is no law that says that the government has to keep itself in line. That's the people job. And I just told y'all the way to do it. It's very simple. You don't have to be a declared Moor, none of that to do that. You can do this as an individual person. You just got to get out of the ego, get out of the victim mentality, get out of the blaming everybody else for their situation, and give glory to where it's supposed to go, to yourself, to your family, to what you perceive as the Most High, you know?
In the link, I'm putting all of your information. He went out, his phone might have overheated. So I'm putting all your information. If you want to send a donation to Aseer, the Duke of Tears, you're welcome. Send a cash app to $DS418. And there's another one too. What's the other one? Let me see if I can find the other one.
Thank you, sis.
You're welcome. The other one is $DV880. He also has a book. I'm going to hurry up and do this so he can go ahead.
Thank you, sis.
You're welcome.
It's called The Darsko 418. If you haven't picked it up, it's the world's most dangerous comic book novel. It's really good. I have a hard copy and I have the ebook available on Apple Play. I also have it on my website. You could also check out www.aseerthedukeoftiers.com. If anybody would like to, do any type of speaking engagement, lecture-wise, you can hit me up.
So family, all of his information is here in the comment section and it's also in the description section of this video. Thank you all so much for your time, your attention, your questions.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. We love you so much. You want to give any final words before we check out?
Just learn to love instead of hate and allow yourself to make mistakes and take accountability for them. And we as men and women need each other equally for the children, which is the future. So outside of that, man, just keep doing what you're doing. Again, support any people that you see really doing it, you know, honest to the ancestors and the elders that have done it before us, done it to death. And love yourself, man, because if you don't, you can't love nobody else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Grand Sheik. We appreciate you. We love you so much.
Thank you.
We have a lot of people in the chat that are here saying thank you. It was been a great
y'all.
show.
Thank y'all for the donations. I really appreciate it, man. I'm
Thank
sorry
you
to
all.
do this without any corporate sponsorship. So thank you very much. I really appreciate y'all.
And we're still going to have your wife on to talk about the hair, skin, and nail products.
I'll give her to get your information and y'all can link up.
Okay, and for those, I'd appreciate that. For those of you who don't know where that is, it is Cordoba Organics, family, right here. And I'll put that in the description section and in the chat for you as well. So I think that's it.
All right.
Have a great night. Tell your Empress that I said I love her and I look forward to speaking to her very soon.
Will do. Honest to you, man. Honest to the human family. Let's learn to love instead of hate. Honest to all of the Moors. Long live the Empire. Everybody, again, thank you guys for the continued support over the years. I couldn't do it without you. Honest to my children, Aries, Victory, Moore, my wife. And again, man, just be as good as you can. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And be peace. Peace.
You've heard from Aseer, the Duke of Tears, who is a Grand Sheik, and Dr. Kia Pruitt. My name again is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Good night, family. We'll talk to you soon.
Shining wisdom's light, teaching soul tribe how to see through the night. Ancient scriptures and bloodlines she knows, spreading truth wherever she goes. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Through her channel, knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine, she's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do.
Good night, family. Thank you for joining us. Sleep well. I love you so much. Thank you all for all your support, for all your Cash App blessings, for all your support of the Grand Sheik, Aseer, the Duke of Tears. And we're going to have more guests to come on to talk about how we can prepare and be ready for the new golden era. Good night, Soul Tribe. I love you all so much. Peace.